Welcome, my friends and enemies. Glad you are here. It's been a weird week. Actually, it's been a weird month. Last month time slot, not just this month, but a lot of AI stuff's been going around. I know I've probably lost subs because of the talking of it, because somebody doesn't like what they hear, whatever the case is. And it's like, look, it all comes down to this. You may hate AI being used in entertainment, the arts, music, whatever. The reality is it's not going anywhere. And if anything, it's going to crush normal artists in the massive production chains. And there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. This does not mean that people will not pursue man-made instead of AI processed art. If anything, it'll still be a staple. But there's a problem, because I hear this argument an awful lot, and it's getting kind of old because it doesn't count for all the details, and it usually is based upon misinformation. And I'm not saying this because, look at you, I just got you, No, I'm saying it because it's reality, and I'm a realist. Despite, wanting an ideal scenario, I recognize that that's not exactly the case. So when somebody says AI art isn't real art, or AI stole art, it's like, okay, well, most of these cannot be true. For one, court rulings say you can't steal people's artwork. So if you take an exact replica of something and do it through AI and it comes out the exact same, you cannot claim it's yours. Plain and simple. Pretty easy, cut and dry. Can't really mess that up. If somebody uses a similar pose or a similar style, but is not the same, it's different by definition. Now, you might not like it, but guess what? People do that handmade. You don't need AI for that. So that's a entirely different issue. That's not an AI issue. That's a person plagiarizing. It's not plagiarizing because it's a different thing. Could be parody, which you have parody laws for that kind of concept. You got the whole argument of stealing. It's like, well, if I put something I make into AI and an AI comes out, which I can't draw with crap, so no worries there. But if I put something in that I drew and AI spits it out based off of my work that I gave it, is it stolen? Well, no. I'm the one who's making it do it. And in a similarly fashion, people say, well, you're not an artist if you use AI. And it's like, well, hold on. What are the things that make you an artist? Well, one is skill, allegedly. And two is you were doing it yourself because it's your idea. It's your idea mixed with skill. Now, keep in mind, skill, most of the people I've seen that complain about this do not have what I would deem to be skill. But somehow they think somebody's going to go steal their artwork. Why would you steal lesser artwork when you could steal better artwork if it was stealing? But it's not stealing. And why would I hire somebody who has less than good artwork? That doesn't make sense. So it's not like anybody's going to take from you personally either, because they're only going to take from good quality, not from bad quality. And if most of you, everyone is doing this, I'm not saying this to be insulting, I'm saying this just from an objective standard of this is better than this, and this is not as good as this. That's the nature of it. They could be different styles, and in that style, this one's gonna be better than this one. There's always gonna be one better than another. So why would I ever go to the one that's not the better of the options if I want the best product that I want to make? Another thing, if I hire an artist, or if I'm doing music and I hire a band, right? Is it my music if I don't play anything? Even though I design it, I orchestrate it and everything, like everything's put together, but I'm not actually playing the music. Is it my music, or is it the people playing its music? Well, that's a problem for people who think this is a big hullabaloo about, oh, well, it's not yours unless you play it. It's like, well, if I can't play guitar, but I write guitar tabs and somebody can play those guitar tabs, just because I can't play guitar does not mean the guitar tabs are not mine. Correct? And if they play my song, does it mean the song's theirs or mine? Well, I paid them to perform my stuff. It's not their stuff that they can play without my permission, right? So ultimately, despite what people might try to lean towards, it's still my product. It's still my production of an art. Like in this case, it might be music. In the music or in the art industry, if I go to an artiste and I say, I want you to make this for me, and I give them the description, and they draw it out, they color it in, they do whatever, they do the shading, and it looks great. Is it mine? Am I responsible for this? You could say, well, no, the artist did it. It's like, well, no. The artist isn't doing it out of the goodness of their heart. I'm paying them. If I'm a company, I'm saying that is my product. So if I had made a company and called it Goodfellas Incorporated, whatever, I don't know, just throw something out there. Goodfellas Incorporated, and I have some art, and I hire somebody to do it. That product goes on there, and it says Goodfellas Incorporated made this art because it's that art. Now, I could be nice, and I could, not that it's not nice to not incorporate somebody that you paid to do this for, but it's not like they made something and submitted it and then I said it was mine, because that would be wrong. But if they submitted it and I posted it as theirs, that would be theirs. If I pay them, they're not working for them, they're working for me, right? Now, typically you post the artist's name to draw in a particular group of people that might pursue that style or that person's work. It makes perfect sense. But if I do pay them, I don't have to, unless it's in a contract somewhere, put their name on it. But even if I did, it's still my product. I'm the one selling it, whether it be mass production or that one of a kind. I have compensated the artist for their work, and now I can move on and I can make whatever I want off of it. If I pay them $10,000 for a piece of artwork and I sell it for $300 million, guess what? They get $10,000. I get $300 million. Because that's how a contract works. You might not like that, but then you're running off of an emotional standard, not off of your actual value of reason. So if you add in the fact that, well, if you're paying them, they're still the artist. It's like, okay, but what if I just say, I need you to make this, and they make it for me, right? Am I the artist because it was my design? They would not be able to make it without my design because they would have no idea where to start because they wouldn't know what my idea was. Is it mine or not? Well, the idea and concept is mine. The skill that they use to put it in is theirs, but that's what AI does. I give them I personally don't, because I can't figure out AI to save my life. But if I give AI a prompt, I'm saying, here's a description, here's what I want you to do with it. See what you can come up with. It generates typically 4 images of what it thinks I am looking for. And in that, well, quite frankly, most of them, if not all of them, are not going to be what I want. Most of the time. And if I do it again, I can go through thousands of these. Maybe hundreds of thousands of these before I find one that's slightly close to like, oh, I actually like this one. And then you take that one, and then you have somebody work on it and clean it up and do some photoshopping, if you will, with it. I don't know if you know this. If you've seen my prior videos on AI topics, you probably are aware, because I've said it multiple times. Photoshop has AI in it. It's not a crime against humanity. It's the fact that you're using a program. Why didn't you hire an artist instead of using Photoshop? And it's a dumb argument. But if you go and you say, I found one out of hundreds of thousands of images, and I like this, and you go to an artist or somebody who can touch it up, and it'll take them a day or 2, maybe, instead of having to wait a month for somebody to make like the whole thing themselves. It's like they make this concept, and then they just utilize what the AI's put there, and then they just finish it with the final touches. Can that artist then say it's theirs? Or do you say it's AI? Or do you say it's mine? Well, it's my overall design. It's my overall thought process and my idea. And the artist did labor, skill, whatever you want to call it, onto it. But the AI processed it. Just like if I gave it straight to an artist and said, I need this tomorrow. Here's $50. Like there is no difference in that regard. You're like, oh, but there's input. I'm like, yes, but I don't want the artist input. I want the artist to do what I told them to do. That's how that works. If I'm a company and I say I need this product, you don't go to a manufacturer who makes chairs and it's like, well, we'll put our own input into it. No, no, no. I want my input for said product. You give me that product when I need it by the deadline. That's how that works. Artists are like, oh, but I'm the artist. I have the input. I put the input into the product, and the product, it comes out. It's so great. It's so great. I'm going to go eat a baguette. That's not how the real world works. Now, if this is your own thing, and you are the artist, and you are also the person paying yourself or whatever, like you're just doing it on your own, that's fine. You can do whatever you want because you're the mind behind the idea, the concept. You are also the one performing the skill and the labor, and you're the one taking as long as you need to do the job. That's perfectly fine. However, that doesn't work for people who are not artists, for most of the part. Now, sometimes, there's plenty of times where people, I don't need this anytime soon, but I prefer it sooner than later, but let me know when you can get it. But if somebody's taking a long time to do something, you're like, well, I need this for a school project. I need this for a presentation at work, whatever the case might be. You can't just willy-nilly dilly-dally. You have to actually put effort into making it on the time schedule, right? Well, if you're being rushed, are you really accessing the artistic genius that is your skill? Well, you can't come up with the concept because, one, it's somebody else's concept. Two, you're on a tight like time slot. You gotta have to fit it into whatever you can. You can't just willy-nilly decide I'll do it whenever I feel like it. You're on a time slot. Like I have to get this for class, blah 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 blah. And you have to make it, sculpt it, draw it, whatever the case might be. But if that's the case, then AI is doing the same thing but faster. And it's a process. It's a digital contraption designed specifically to do work for you, right? And through that work, it's translating what you're describing to it into an image. Now, if you think about it hard enough, this is what a camera does. You go out with your camera and you take a picture of a landscape. There's a cool hill, and you're like imagining a hobbit hole sitting there, and Bag End, the Shire, and all the hobbits running around, kids playing, the adults getting their beer or their pipe weed and baking goods and having parties, right? And you take this picture. Did you take the picture, or did you point the camera in the direction you want to capture the image? Because the actual work is being done by the camera. You're just pointing it at something. You're directing its attention to something, taking a picture of it, and then it's sorry, I just bit my tongue. It's saving the image. It's processing the image. It's doing all the work. Why didn't you just hire an artist to do it? What are you, an anti-artist person? Like, we don't use that argument for cameras. Sorry. So when you use AI, you direct the AI to do what you want it to do. You point it in the direction and see if it comes. Now, if I'm a photographer and I'm told, go capture an image, and I go capture the image that I think is what they want, and then I come back and say, that's not what we want, I have to go do it again. And I'll have to do it again and again and again until I get the one they want, right? That's sounds just like AI if it's giving you multiple outputs from the same thing. So why would I assume that they're any different, right? Now, I have heard all sorts of excuses as to why, and I get where the people are coming from. I disagree with them wholeheartedly because it's not a feasible function. Just because something progresses in the tech industry or whatever does not mean you can inherently blame it on, everything on it. It's stealing, it's scraping. Like everybody, you scrape with your eyelids when you peruse the internet or you doom scroll. I'm sorry, you're scraping everything. You get ideas for your book or ideas for your painting or ideas for your music literally by scraping things with your ears, your eyes, all of your senses. It's just what you do. You're scraping it, you're memorizing it, you're cataloging it in your brain, and you're saying, okay, when I get home, I'm going to start doing this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to put this together, and boom, you create something. Except you didn't create something. You scrape somebody else's ideas, you scrape somebody else's artwork, you scrape somebody else's actual literal work. You did that. Just like AI. But AI does it faster. It might not be as good right now. I mean, it's getting there, but it might, depending on what you use and how well you are versed in prompting. I mean, prompting is literally just another word for directing. And I thought about this the other day, and I was like, well, do directors make movies? And the answer I came up to, or the conclusion I came up to is, no, they don't make movies. They don't make the movies. They direct the movie, but they don't make the movie. They're not part of the process for the making of the movie, but the movie would not be able to be made without them. It's a weird scenario because you have a whole squad, a whole studio of things, processes, and people moving around doing little bits and bobs to make sure everything's lined up. And it may work really well, or it could work horribly, depending upon the work quality and everything of that nature. So when it comes down to it, it ultimately has a problem when you say, oh, a director made this movie. The director did not make this movie. The actors made the movie. The stunt people made the movie. The makeup artists made the movie. The cinematographers made the movie. The lighting people made the movie. All these other people. But they themselves did not make the movie. It was them as an entire cast of people put together to make a film. But they wouldn't know what they were doing if they didn't have a director. Even if you had the script writers and the writers and the storyboard people and all that stuff, even if you had them, they don't know where they're going with that storyboard. They're not going to just start running a random script and saying, this is what we're doing. Well, no, they take the direction. The director says, okay, here's what we're doing. We're making this film. Here's what I want. And he tells them to make it. Is the director an artist? Well, by artist standards, yes. Yes, he is. Are the writers in the screenwriting room and everything, are they artists? Well, yes. Every single function according to a studio, and everyone who works on that movie essentially is an artist, except for like people who, like, you know, bring food, catering, like the ball boy or the bag boy or whatever isn't exactly part of the movie, but it is a particular role that's necessary to keep people happy and to make sure everything's clean and taken care of in the little details so that other people can work on their stuff. And so you could say they are part of the movie, but they didn't make the movie. They were just there to assist in making people available to do their job. That's all they are. But the more you think about it, the more you break down every single category. And I'm thinking this from like a very pedantic, specific, very honed in concept. The director does not make a movie. The director directs a movie. He points and says, I want this scene to go this way. That's a prompt. He prompts the actors to do something. He prompts the cinematography to aim at a particular angle and everything. He checks in every once in a while to make sure that everything is in the right place. Everything needs to be where he wants it to be before the next step is taken. Now, the difference here between AI and humans is that humans can usually make it work only after a couple times, provided everything's going smoothly, like weather doesn't screw up anything or the actors don't burst out laughing because it was a funny scene or whatever. But they have bloopers for that, and those are usually saved for like the DVD release or whatever, and it's a win-win either way because people like watching that stuff. But he's prompting them. He's prompting the actors. He's prompting the cinematography. He's prompting the lighting. Like, I want the light hitting this particular direction. I want the shadows to hit this part because it has this kind of meaning into it. He directs the script writers to make the kind of script he's looking for. And hopefully he goes over the script and says, I do or do not like this. Or she, if it's a female director. That director will say, I do or do not like this. They don't just say, make me a script, and then never pay attention to the script. They wouldn't be able to direct. if that was the case. So the people making the actual, like, let's say they make armor and they make an actual physical armor, if they're just printing on a shirt, rings of power, and then, you know, the prop people, they have to have direction. What are they making? Are they making something for, the Bronze Age era? Or are they making something from a super sci-fi? What are they making? They need direction. They need a prompt to do their job. So AI is the same thing as people, but not everybody can afford people because people are expensive and people require gathering of all the talent. They have to get everybody in on the same page. They have to make sure that everyone was going to be cohesive enough, and they have to make sure people aren't just going to just walk away from the job one day and screw the entire production. And they also can't tell people about what they're doing, kind of a thing. There's, a little hush hush. So all of this is what AI does in one go. The AI is not going to tell on you because you don't have to worry about silence aspect. It'll produce something as many times as you want, and it can produce some stuff in a time frame like 1/100th of the time it takes for you to do a shot, if not even 1/1000 or 1/10,000. Like this massive time frame differentiation. And you can add as many people before and afterwards as you would like to fit whatever it is. Now, I say all this not to say, shut up about your ideas and arguments about AI because you disagree with me and therefore you're wrong. That's not what I'm saying. You are free to think whatever you want to. My only thought is that if you're going to be against AI, at least be informed about it and at least think about it reasonably. You might have an emotional knee-jerk reaction, but think about it from a logical perspective and think, this is a little uncanny how all these little aspects and little features, they're basically the same thing, but one's happening because one entity, AI, is doing it instead of a whole bunch of entities, people, are performing these interesting faculties and cognitive wheels moving around, right? What is your argument? Because it's like that meme where they say, like, oh, I don't want to do this. And he has the guy's face pushed him. He's like, tell me what you really mean. He's like, oh, I don't want to do this. And it's like, no, tell me what you really mean. He's like, oh, I actually just hate this because I'm jealous and envious because people won't buy my stuff. It's like, oh, thank you. And it's like, that's what it sounds like. It sounds elitist. And I'm not saying you are being elitist if this is you in your argument. I'm saying that's what it comes across to everybody who's not in that circle. For those of us who don't have that talent and have never been able to manage to grasp that ability, it comes off as elitist. It's like, well, if you don't hire me, I'm going to bad talk your product 1,000,000 times over. Oh, wait, you're hiring somebody else? Oh, that's cool then. But if you weren't hiring somebody else and you were hiring that pesky little AI, then I would bad talk you. It's like, but why? The product is what matters. If the product is made by AI, solely AI, with no direction from human input, one, it wouldn't exist because there's nothing for it to prompt or take the prompts from and to do. There's no reason for it to do anything. It just sits there and just hums away as electricity's running on. That's all it does. It doesn't make anything, doesn't do anything. It needs to be guided and directed. And you can input your own stuff. So if you have somebody who's writing a concept art for you, you feed the concept art, it will make variety of things and say, does any of these suit your fancy? But if I go to an artist, I have to pay them a whole lot more, and they either get paid per contract or per image, or both, depending upon what the contract is. I mean, do I have to put $1 million into somebody until they get what I want them to do right? No, I'm not going to pay them for things I'm not happy with. That's why it's their job to figure it out. Just like the AI's job is to figure out what I want. But the AI doesn't have anything to work with from the artistic brain function. So it just gets as close as it can, and then I would take it and give it to somebody who has that ability to make it more. Now, if your argument is you hate AI slop, fair enough. I do too. No problems. But just because it's AI does not inherently mean it is slop. Some AI is getting really, really good. Some people just don't know how to use it. And some people who think they know how to use it and they try to use it and they think it's really, really good, but it's actually not because they're looking at it from an egotistical standpoint saying, oh, this is the best AI ever. It's really not because we can tell it's AI. The good AI, you can't really tell it's AI because it's really, really freaking good. I mean, people have put in little short clips like 3 minutes long of what would look like live action stuff, and it looks realistic. It doesn't look like it's some crazy thing happening with like a 6 leg popping out of the body or something. Like, no. It looks like it's real people being shot on a cinematography camera, and it's going to be the best thing ever since fried chicken. It's good. It's not slop, but it's AI. Now, there's a lot of things that AI could be really useful for, like reducing injuries, for example. Now, you could say, well, we have stuntmen for that. And it's like, well, yes, but stuntmen can still get hurt. And that's still problems, like people being hurt, or actors who are like, no, I'll do it. And then they get hurt. And then the entire project is put on hold for 6 months or 10 months. And nothing goes anywhere because you can't do anything because the person's injured. Well, AI will just do that thing for them, especially if it's something that's like, we have to blow up a building. Well, do you want to blow up an actual building? Which sounds fun, don't get me wrong. I would totally do it in real life. Like, on set, mind you, not with people in it or anything. But, like, if you get to blow up a house and just windows are going out, glass is flying everywhere, it's great. And I totally prefer the real thing. But if your budget is like, we got $100,000, very small crew, couple of actors, you're trying to make something out of this, well, having that is the same thing as if you go hire people to do CGI. But you think CGI is not a problem, but hiring a prompter is a problem. Explain that to me. One is one has actual skill. You think prompting doesn't take skill? Are you freaking insane? I've looked into a whole bunch of prompting systems and trying to figure out heads or tails of any of them. I haven't the slightest idea. So it's clearly not the easiest thing to do. But it's not the thing you think it is. And I don't know how to express it to somebody, because if you've already turned your mind off to AI to begin with, I don't know what to do. Now, I will say there are things I don't think should be used for AI, and I have varying reasons for those things, but I use it from a reasonable perspective. Like, I'm using reason and logic. I'm not using an emotional appeal because it's taking my gerbs or something of that nature. Or it's soulless. I'm like, well, okay, soul is in the idea, not the implementation of the idea. It's in the idea. So if the idea is soulless, the AI will bring it out as soulless. If the idea is not soulless, then the AI cannot make it soulless. It's the idea. And if it does make it something that looks soulless, you just skip it and go to something until it makes something that has soul to it. Like, the idea is what has soul. It could be a brand new concept or whatever. And if there were no laws saying you have to tell people what you have as AI, well, if you put out something and you're like, oh man, this is great, and then 20 years later you find out the whole thing was AI, you've already established it had soul. You can't use the argument it doesn't have soul anymore. And I'm tired of this argument. I'm tired of all the arguments. I've heard them all for all the industries. I've heard them all in the different areas. One side, ironically, the side that's all pro-artiste is all progress for the sake of progress. And then progress hits like an AI train, and they're like, I don't like progress anymore. Well, I'm sorry to shatter your illusion and break your bubble and whatever. It's just like, come with a real argument. Don't get mad about it. Don't yell at me. I'm not your enemy. You are your enemy at this point. I'm here to kind of put things into comparison. And I'm about to go into another topic that is what I started this entire intro for. I don't know why I went off the rails this far, because it was not my intention. I just had a weird day. This is not normally how I do things. But if you're looking at this from the perspective of it needs to be man-made at all times, what do you do when someone does not do it the way you like to, and they profit, and it destroys the industry you're in for those who are not following suit? What do you do? It's more expensive to hire an entire studio than it is to hire an AI company to make your stuff for you. Like a lot. Like a lot. Like, you can have a pre-created digital actor. Even give it its own voice. Put that sucker together. You've saved millions of dollars of paying an actor, or even hundreds of thousands or $10,000s to make that actor. And then you just pay the AI company to make the whole thing for you. That's what some companies are doing. And they're not American companies. You're not stopping them. No law, no nothing's going to change this fact. It's going to happen. Good luck. But what will suffer are the companies that are fully staffed with humans and refuse to use any way to make it frugally cheaper. Because when you're making a movie for $350 million, I'm sorry, you don't know the first thing of how to make films, because it does not cost that much money to make those films. Sorry, it just doesn't. If you watch Godzilla -1, it's like $15 million or something like that. $15 million, and you made a freaking AAA level quality freaking series movie, and it blew all the competition out of the freaking water in terms of how much profit it made, because it made all the profit, because it didn't take much. Like freaking a very small percentage of just like a single state in the United States basically paid off that movie. If you're looking at a 1-to-1 ratio, if you're like, it cost 15 million and it made 15 million just from one state, right? Well, then you have to pay another, like, because basically whatever you make at the box office, half of that is going to the theaters. In some situations, it's more like you're international. It's like you'd get 25% international. In local, you'd get 50%, right? So you're only making half of whatever it makes in theaters. So if it makes $300 million in theaters, you're only making 150 of that. Well, then you have to pay marketing, which is usually double what the actual budget was. So if you had 300 million, 600 million, and it makes 500 million, well, you're losing that down to 250 million. It didn't even make what it's spent on initially. There might be some other small factors that maybe will push it over the benchmark, or maybe it'll make it back in the DVD sales. Who knows? But you didn't make money. If you make a $15 million movie and it sells like hotcakes, guess what? You done made money. That's how you do it. But also keep in mind, some studios cannot afford to field the squad that, say, a AAA company like Disney or Warner Bros. Or Paramount or somebody can put out and pay everybody. And we'll look at one right now, but it's in video games. So, Stellar Blade director says using AI will be essential for competing with overwhelming manpower of China and US developers. ShiftUp CEO and Stellar Blade director Hyung-tae Kim recently talked about AI in Korea's gaming industry, expressing support for its adoption. Now, you might think, well, why are they saying this? I don't care what they have to say, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, I hate to break this to you, but these are people who actually use this and are fighting an uphill battle against basically the world. The world is against them, and they're not even using AI yet. So, like, there's like, the world is against us. We have to break through. We have to survive somehow. And so this is their thoughts. During a national briefing on South Korea's 2026 economic growth strategy held on January 9th, ShiftUp CEO and Stellar Blade director Hyung-tae Kim shared his views on AI, positioning it as an essential tool for going against large competitors like China on a global level. The briefing, overseen by South Korea's president, was attended by major government officials, with Kim representing the private sector among other prominent business owners. Commenting on the domestic game industry, Kim expressed a sense of crisis about China's overwhelming advantage when it comes to manpower, and suggested that the use of AI technology will be indispensable to overcoming this gap. Note that this is based on machine translation, so exact nuance should be taken with a grain of salt. In other words, they're trying to express this, but what is being allegedly said is from a machine translation, so this may not be 100% accurate, but it's trying its best. Now, when you look at it from a perspective is, you have, like I say, a U.S. company, like a studio, Warner Bros. Or whatever, they put out tons, like they have thousands upon thousands of people working on their projects. But if you have a small studio, are you able to compete with that? Well, not really. But can you make good stuff? Maybe. Could AI make it better? But done right, sure. So, what is the option? I can, not me, but like the studio, the small studio can say, hey, I give up. I'm going to do it this way. We'll see what we get from this. Or they say, we'll try AI. And if AI works and we can make a better product that people will actually enjoy, maybe it'll help fund the next project or maybe the next 2 projects. Maybe we can bring on 150 people more, or maybe another 150 people more, or maybe 1,000 people. But then here's the problem. You don't want bloated manpower. The more bloated manpower you have, you're burning money for literally no extra reason. And yeah, you're hiring people, but are you really hiring qualified people? Are you hiring people that you need, or are you hiring people just for the sake of hiring people? That's not how businesses operate. And yes, I get that artiste soul does not understand most of the time how a business operates, but a business has to make profit. And if you hire more people than you need, you have to do extra, like way better, to make up for that amount you're losing on. So as much as it's a very unpopular opinion, it's still a reality. You need to be frugal with your finances as a company in order for it to make any chance or any shot of you doing well. Now, obviously, when you're like a bigwig studio, you'll make a lot of money, probably. Although nowadays it's in question. But it makes me sad to think about people who are trying their best and they're being literally told by people who are anti-AI for any reason. Not anti-AI because bad people will do bad things with it. Totally behind you on that. Bad people doing bad things with AI, totally understand that position. I'm backing you 100% because they're bad people. But they're going to do it anyway, regardless of any position you want to take. And you could say, "Oh, I'm holding the moral high ground." I'm like, "Well, they don't care about morals. They're criminals. They're bad people. They're whatever. They're not there for the goodness of their heart. They're not there to make things better, or whatever the case might be." Then he goes on and says he explained that with about 80% of ShiftUp's revenue coming from the overseas market, in other words, 20% of the Stellar Blade thing came from Korea. 80% came from everywhere else. Chinese games are a formidable rival. China doesn't pay their people crap and have them make sometimes really, really good stuff. Like China can make good stuff, but a lot of the times they make really poor stuff because it's cheap and they just turn around and it breaks or whatever the case is. But they can make really, really good stuff. They can make really good stuff if they put their mind to it. They're also still not paying them very much. So I can go to China and pay an artist pennies on the dollar, make me something. It'll be good quality. Does that mean it's good? Does that mean it's okay now all of a sudden to utilize an artist but pay them nothing? Well, it must be because you paid a human, so it's okay. I mean, there's more to the picture than just AI being the problem here, guys. Come on. We devote around 150 people to a single game, which for their size studio, that's a lot. But China puts in between 1,000 to 2,000 people. We lack the capacity to compete, both in terms of quality and volume of content. This is the problem. If you do not compete, their quality will be there. Whether it's good quality, bad quality, whatever it might be, that's going to be what rules the market. And they're saying, well, we want to compete, but we can't afford to compete in this department. No one can really afford to compete with China because China uses basically slave labor to get what they want. They have an authoritarian death grip on their people and their economy. You can't just poof it all away. It's not how that works. So when people are saying we're trying to survive in this world where basically if we don't, we're going to close down and 150 people lose their jobs, right? Like if we're not going to if we're not going to be able to survive as a company, we have to shut our doors and we're done. That's the end. But if we can utilize a tool that will put us on par with 150 people instead of 1,000 to 2,000, throwing more people at something does not make it necessarily better. It just means that you have a higher chance of success than you do if you have less. But if you have AI, and from what I understand, and from what I have heard from developers talking about what they prefer to do, they prefer to use AI on things that people don't want to do. So they'll still have their concept artists, they'll still have their artists, they'll still have their music team, they'll still have all the people, the bips and bobs, because they want to rely on the good old trusty quality people that they can hire, right? But they want to use it for things that nobody wants to do. That it's kind of a useless thing. It's like, oh, well, I need to hire somebody for a 5-minute job and then fire them. Is that really necessary? Because it needs to be a human? Like, come on, give me a break. We've already established that the idea is already there. The soul of the concept is already there. And we've already established also that artists and concept artists can go in after something's been processed and touch it up, but in a much shorter, briefer time frame, which allows them to make games faster, with less crunch time, with more breathability, and just it's a better working environment for all the employees that are working. But the comeback is, but you need more humans. So you want everybody to have worse work conditions. You want everybody to be miserable. You want people to be on a tight schedule and nothing go right, and people just not have a good time. That's your plan, is make everything worse because humans? What about the humans that are prompting the stuff to happen to begin with, and they understand how it works because they're artists and they can make good quality stuff with it? Again, photographers, directors for films, all of these things, they're one of another. They're all copies of a copy. It's just progress. This is how it works. It's even, I mean, think about how progress works. You have the cart-drawn horse, or the horse-drawn cart, and cart-drawn horse. You have the horse-drawn cart. And then a couple hundred years later, you have horsepower and an engine pulling a horse transporter. I don't even know what they're called off the top of my head, that has a bunch of horses on it. My, how the turntables. Like, that's progress, right? Most people would consider that backwards, not progress, because you had something pulling you. Now you have literally nothing pulling you. There's no living being pulling you ahead. It's just literally a machine. But no one got uppity arms of that except for certain people. And those people had something to lose. And it's just a game of, what can I gain out of this over somebody else? So ultimately, this comes down to the reality of the situation versus what we'd ideally like. And sure, I would ideally love to eventually have enough money where I could hire an entire army of people at my beck and call to perform functions according to a line of things that I've come up with myself. I would absolutely love and adore that. However, one, that's coming up with money I don't have, nor do I have a means to get it. Two, it's going to be drowned out by whoever does better in the industry, whether they use AI or not. It's going to drown out whatever I can do. Even if I made a top tier 10 out of 10 video game or a movie or a TV show, whatever it might be, somebody else coming out with something else is going to just wipe it under the rug. The studio's going to fall apart. Everyone's going to lose their jobs. And congratulations, well, at least I didn't use AI. And that's somehow a good thing. And I don't fully comprehend that as a reasonable position. I get that people have their concepts and their ideas of what the spirit of art is, but that's a subjective term. Quality is quality. Lack of quality is lack of quality, regardless of what it is. Music, drawings, paintings, sculptures, it doesn't matter. Literally anything. Clothing, fashion, anything. Tech industry. Quality is quality. Lack of quality is lack of quality. If you don't like that, I'm sorry. I can't help you in that department. That's reality. Is it ideal to have humans? Yes. Are humans affordable? Not really. They're really not. I've heard some crazy things where, like, doing an art cover for a book would be like $3,000. I'm like, well, if I read a book and I don't have $3,000, do I just not have a cover? Like, do I just throw the project in the trash can and say, well, I finished the book, but I don't got any art, so I can't sell this thing, and then screw me, I guess. Like, that does not reek of the artistic spirit when people are saying, yeah, you should do that instead because you need to hire somebody. I'm Scrooge. No, you need to have your Scrooge moment where you wake up and realize, I've been wrong this entire time. I've been treating people less than trash when they have actual good motives and want to do stuff. Not saying that there aren't people with bad motives, because there definitely are. But this is not that situation. This is a matter of what's going to affect the industry. This is going ahead, full steam ahead, with or without your approval. It's going to succeed with or without your approval. Even if everyone who's anti-AI comes against it and stands, it's still going to succeed, because the ultimate line is the bottom line. And the bottom line is people who don't care as long as they get quality. So if you have a person who's using an entire studio like Disney, but their stuff they're making is soulless because it's trash, like most of their stuff, and somebody comes along with AI and a quarter of a quarter of a quarter of what they're using and the funds to use it, and use AI to make something a million times better with actual quality content, that's going to win, because that's what people want. They want quality. That's reality. So I know everyone's going to be upset at me. I know everyone's going to hate me for this, and I'm sorry. I'm here to tell you the blunt reality. I'm not a person who's going to suck up to you, because I don't do that to anybody in my life. I don't do it to my parents. I don't do it to my wife. I don't do it to my children. I don't do it to anyone. I'm going to tell you how it is, no matter what. Even if it's something you don't want to hear, and I apologize that you're upset about it. I can't change that fact. But I want you to know that if you have actual legitimate issues with AI, and you have actual reasonable, not emotional based, a reasonable based argument, I want to hear it. Leave it in the comments. Tell me what it is. It might change my mind. There are definitely things I have not heard of so far, and there's always going to be something I don't know, and I'm open to learning about it. So leave it in the comments. Let me know. Don't just say, you're wrong, her, and then leave. Because I'm not going to be like, that doesn't tell me anything. You don't have an argument. That's your argument is, I don't have an argument. And then I'm just going to ignore it, because there's no, that's not an argument. Tell me things like, well, this actually affects this because blank. This actually does this because whatever the case might be. I want to know how you came to the conclusion of, and maybe we'll go back and forth in the comments. Maybe I say, well, that's a good argument, but what about this thing? And then you think about it and say, oh, I have an answer to that. And then you come out with a different angle. These are all things that are necessary for a discussion. This should not be news. This should not be mind-blowing information. This should be pretty standard, cut and dry. How do you have a conversation? Well, you have it by presenting an argument or a position, and then somebody comes at that position and says, well, you thought about this, but what about all these other things you didn't think about? This is how quality control is done in the production sphere. Somebody comes along and says, I have an idea. They produce the idea, and the quality control says, what about this? Snap. What about this? Crack. What about this? Zzz, and they get zapped. Like, what abouts are literally how you function this. It's not always a good argument, but it is a way to give the person who produced the original thought and say, actually, I hadn't thought about that. And that's what I hope this is about, because I want this video to be about, is this something I can actually alter in some shape or form? In some fashion, can I actually have a good outcome of this? Can I actually perform a better result by making my position stronger, rather than just saying, well, I don't like what you said because I disagree from my artistic soul? That's not an argument. That's an emotional plea. And as much as I wish we lived in a world where emotional pleas actually held weight in anything, they don't. That's the weakest form of literally anything. Because it's literally, but my feelings versus but my feelings. That's two my feelings fighting each other is literally the dumbest thing in the world. And you cannot make a lower performative clown circus act. It's just, it does not work. But if you come out and somebody say, I understand what you're saying, but I have an objection, and a nice, calm, formal, like, here's my problem with your argument. And then the other person says, okay, interesting. I understand your problems. Allow me to disperse them, or I'll get back to you on that because I have to think about it a little bit more. That shouldn't be a problem in that regard. And I don't know why this turned into a philosophical video. I mean, maybe it's because I like philosophy and it's just part of my reasoning faculties. But hopefully this will be something where you can go into the comments. You can speak your mind about your opinion or your argument or your position, whatever it might be, and I can take a look at it and say, I understand. And I don't want this to be we're breaking friendships and we're breaking, whatever. I'm not here to suck up to you and say, don't unsubscribe or whatever, or, show up and you've never seen me before and you're like, oh, I'm not going to subscribe to this person, boop, and just cancel out. I'm not trying to do that to save you from from leaving. I want you to come and understand the purpose. Now, I get most people won't get to the end of this video because for whatever reason, people are allergic to having actual discussions, covering topics, or anything like that. But what I want from people is them to understand just because you have a thought does not mean you are correct. I'm not guaranteed to be correct. And somebody might come into the comments and they might have a legitimate counter to that and be like, you know what? I hadn't thought about that. But first and foremost, you have to overcome the progress innovation argument. You have to. Because there's always going to be something that comes along that's going to change things. Automation removed a massive amount of people from the workforce that were in those fields that could have gone back into those fields had somebody else opened up that same production system. Government touching that one a lot usually. And there's just a simple explanation is usually better than a convoluted one, but in some situations, having nuance added to your simple explanation helps the actual conversation push forward a little bit better. So leave a comment, let me know. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to get the whole plethora of, no, you're stupid, you're dumb, you're a big piece of blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, I don't care about those. You can save your breath. I mean, I'll enjoy the engagement and help me out with the video, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody to come up with a legitimate reason. Give me something to work with so I can be like, yeah, you've actually stumped me. Let me think about this. And I'll come back and I'll leave another response to it and say, you know what? I couldn't come up with something like that. Or how about this concept? Maybe I'll make another video off of just your comment and then say, hey, look, we've reached a position. Or maybe we can do a conversation live and we can just break it down and say, well, you say this, but I say this, and then which one's not making sense or whatever the case might be. So do that, or dislike the video if you do that as well. Which I'm expecting videos like this typically just go heavily in the dislike ratio, but that's fine. I'm not getting paid for this, so it's no sweat off my back. It won't matter to me. If you find it an interesting concept, or if you might find it as a drama farm, share the video with somebody if you care. I appreciate your view either way, even if you absolutely even if you absolutely despise me or are disgusted by my very existence, I still appreciate you. And I have obviously supported my fair share of artists. So I'm not saying this because I want artists to fail or to get fired or to cease being popular or useful or productive. I'm saying this because it's reality. It's going to happen. You cannot stop it. It will happen. Even if America outlaws it, doesn't mean anywhere else will. And even if a lot of places do, if China doesn't, it doesn't matter. It's still going to happen. And you'd have a lot of hurdles in the American department for that too, because we have a whole lot of things in place to specifically prevent that kind of absolute crusher of something, right? But who knows? Maybe it'll happen. Maybe they'll throw the walls out the roof and just whatever. It doesn't matter anymore. But I hope you got something from this. I hope maybe it makes you at least think about it. I'm not expecting to change anyone's minds, but if I did change your mind, leave a comment and let me know that it changed your mind and what specifically changed your mind. What potentially had completely just light bulb went off and you had no idea because you hadn't thought about it before, because everyone's been lying to you and telling you, well, it's stealing, it's using somebody else's stuff, and that's already been disproven, guys. We're past that. That was like last year. No, that's not a last year joke. It literally was about a year ago. It was literally 365 days ago when this has all been shucked out the window. It's probably even more than that. This is not an argument anymore. Everything's changed since that point. And hopefully you'll understand that. And hopefully you'll think about it. Even if you stay in the anti-AI camp, that's fine too. I just want to know what you're thinking and where you're coming from. If you can make it non-emotional plea and you can actually make a reasonable argument that's something I can consider, and I can tighten my argument a bit more, or maybe loosen it to expand it and whatever, and maybe something else will happen. I don't know. I'm not closed off to the argument, but I don't think people are coming at this honestly with a genuine idea of throwing ideas back and forth. I don't think people are intentionally trying to put more or less an honest emphasis on the conversation. They're coming in very disingenuously and trying to shout you down. Is not a good place to go. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope this all just works out well, but I know better. I'm a realist, remember? So I know how this is going to go. So thank you for your time. I'm sorry it wasn't what you wanted to hear. And I'm sorry for everyone who's got to hear this from a lot of sources, but I want us to be on the same page as a society and understand that just because somebody tells me something doesn't mean it's true. And that goes for me too. Like if you want to go source check, go source check. Do your thing. Come back and we'll have a conversation. But I want people to be on the same page, and that the lies you've been told are obviously lies. They're not true. And the truths you've been told are true because they're truth. Can we get past this wishy-washy moment that our society's gone through hundreds of times already from a whole bunch of industries? This isn't new to us. I just want us to be able to have a conversation, and I hope you'll be okay with people being honest with you instead of just saying what you want to hear. I'm not a yes man. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear because you want to hear it. I'm going to tell you how it is, and I'll also, on occasion, throw in my opinion on the topic, whether it be about a video game or a movie or whatever. I'll throw in my opinion as well. But there are bases for what I came up with for this video specifically, and usually basis for everything I think of, including my opinions. I come to my opinions and my conclusions based off of something. You do as well. It doesn't mean one's better than the other inherently, but eventually one is going to be better than the other because that's how ideas work. There's always a better idea. There's better ideas out there than mine. I want to find them. I want to learn from them, and I want to be better. But I also want everybody else to also be better with me and be like, let's do this together. Let's maybe we'll make an entire industry revolutionary thing that just blows everybody's mind, and we're like, oh, everything's better. And we find a way to make everybody happy, but there's always going to be people who don't want the progress. I'm definitely not a person who's a progress for the progress sake. I am very much not in that camp. But if there is a way we can progress and not be jerks about it, that would be phenomenal. But I haven't heard anybody on the pro AI side getting like obstinate about it. It's always been people on the anti-AI camp. And I'm not sure if it's just because they've been lied to or they legitimately just have this desire to lie because they just have this foaming at the mouth hatred for no reason whatsoever. But I'm going to end the video here before I go on another diatribe for another 6 million years. So thank you for everybody who stopped in, even watched 10 seconds, basically got you to the intro. I appreciate you. I appreciate you if you hate my guts. I appreciate you if you don't hate my guts. Definitely appreciate that. That's a very small minority of people in the world. So thanks everybody for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, or dislike and hate my guts, whatever. It's all cool. I appreciate you and your time. Check out the description if you want to follow me on Twitter/X, or if you want to jump in the Discord and hang out with me, play video games, whatever, that kind of stuff. Also check out Criticless, and I will eventually post a bunch of video game reviews when they add the video game section to that. I don't watch a whole lot of TV or movies, so I don't do a whole lot of reviews for them. When I do a video or when I make a video, or when I watch a video or watch a TV, I can then do something like that. But at the moment, I don't have anything like that out there. I just kind of talk in forum groups and stuff. Also, check out the description below that for content creators I think you might like. Check them out. And then also below that, check out businesses that are anti-censorship, pro-free speech, and they're happy with our corner of the internet. I am not sponsored by anybody. I never have been and probably never will be, but I still think the people and the businesses are good people and good businesses to follow. So if that suits your tastes, tell them I said hi. And thanks everybody. And remember, walk in the light, my friends.